This is going to be an intense episode. Today we're going to talk about the nativity scene. In the Protestant world, we see the barn, we see the animals, we see the manger.
No, it's not a farm. I'll get there. It's a cave. Nothing in the whole story and nothing in the icon is accidental. That old man wrapped in fur that's there in front of him, that is the devil, disguised as an old man.
I didn't know that until just now, actually.
I've never connected that.
The birth and the death of Christ are joined together in yet another visual element in this icon.
How did I miss that?
Ain't that fun? This is just so much fun. I love doing this.
Hi, it's Cass. I wanted to first start off by saying thank you for listening. I created this because I could not find it anywhere else on the internet, and it takes a very small team and a large upfront investment to make it all possible. I really hope that you find it valuable. I would never expect anything from my listeners, and I'm always going to do my best to first outsource support from brands. However, if you do find value in this episode, I invite you to contribute an amount equal to the value that you have received, either through a one-time or a monthly donation linked in the show notes below. I understand that not everyone, though, can donate monetarily. So I ask that if you love Biblically Speaking and you cannot donate, please show your support by subscribing to this channel wherever you're listening so that it tells the hosting platform to show Biblically Speaking to more curious and confused Christians. In exchange for the support, I personally promise to you to always create the highest quality production possible. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get to the show.
Hello. Welcome to Biblically Speaking. I'm your host, Cassian Blino, and today we're going to talk about the nativity scene. You know, that thing that you pull out once a year at Christmas time. Like, I was raised in a Protestant household. My mom has a ton of them from around the world, and each have a different style. And, you know, it's the barn, it's the hay. We even do a tradition where we find baby Jesus. Where did that come from? Is that it? You know, why don't we have that, for Easter? Why don't we have that for all of the events in the Bible? What is it specifically about the nativity scene? Is it just that, or is there more? I'm sitting down with Father Michael Butler. Welcome back to the show. You have been on this, oh my gosh, so many times. I'm so glad that we booked 3 episodes. You know, you came on to talk about Orthodoxy so much. You've come to talk about so many things, and now we're going to talk about the nativity scene and how much symbolism is in it, how much it alludes to Jesus's death. What else is going on? And specifically about the Orthodox nativity icon, which to me is a very specific image. Because again, in the Protestant world, we see the barn, we see the animals, we see the manger. No, if you are listening at home, pull up on Google Orthodox nativity icon, and that's what we're going to be referencing specifically, because that is alluding to so much more than the basic manger that I was raised in the household. So I'm really excited to discuss something that has potential for so much more meaning. Just in case you haven't listened to any episode with Father Michael Butler, go back. Just go back right now, because they're all so good. I think we've done 4 at this point. This is
the 4th. Yeah, I think so.
And we talk, what is the difference between Protestant and Orthodoxy, understanding sin, understanding communion. But for those that haven't listened, you are more than qualified to talk about this. And you're just such a good friend. I'm so glad that we're connected. You've served as a clergyman of the Orthodox Church for 37 years, 6 years as a deacon, 31 as a priest, and you're actually going to be retiring soon. Congratulations for that full-time ministry. But your studies have been an undergraduate in archetypal psychology. You have a PhD in church history and patristics. You've taught at university level. And then you train men for ministry. You've done interdisciplinary work in economics, environmentalism, other areas. But you've just been so involved in self-development. You're not just a good priest, you're a good friend. So welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're back.
Thank you. Well, it's a joy to be here. And
it's such a joy.
Yeah, and as we sort of wind down the last couple of weeks before Christmas comes, the Orthodox keep a fast before Christmas, and it's slowly the appointed hymns and all for to be sung at our services, or increasingly have references to the upcoming nativity. So everyone is starting to get the feel for the season, and it's not just the Christmas jingles at the supermarket, or at the shopping mall or whatnot, but when it begins to show up in church, that's really kind of nice, and we know it's getting near. So that's
so
always
this
great.
Is like a very this is a hot topic in the Orthodox Church right now. Like, you guys are winding into the church season and already discussing the nativity icon.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. Well, because actually, if in some of our services there have been references to the Nativity going back, I think, into the end of November. They're
Oh,
subtle,
okay.
but they're there because it's because sort of. I remember the old Roman Catholic Archbishop Fulton Sheen. You know, he had this. God rest his soul. I loved listening to him, and I wish I could preach like him. But he had this marvelous observation one time. He says, "The way of the world is the feast, and then the hangover." You know, but the way of the church is first the fast and then the feast, and so we always prepare for major celebrations, like, Pascha, Easter has 40-day fasting period, Great Lent, which precedes it. And Christmas actually has a period of preparation. In the Western church, that's called Advent. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's 4 weeks long. Forgive me, it's been 40 plus years since I was a Roman Catholic. I kind of forget some of the details about that. But for us, it's 40 days long. And so it's a fasting period of preparation so that when the joy of the feast comes, it's even that much more joyful. And we've prepared our hearts as well and our spiritual lives to participate as fully and as attentively as we can, in
Yeah.
these events in salvation history, in the economy of salvation. What Christ has done for us is kind of what
Yeah.
we're prepping here.
Okay, so help us prepare because this is going to be released on December 23rd. So we're
Mhm.
right on the brink of Christmas. In the Protestant world, Jesus is about to be born. And, we're looking at that nativity scene. We're thinking about the story of Mary. And typically, when I go to church this time of year, I'm looking at a very peaceful farm scene.
Mhm.
Like, I don't mean to be gross about it, but that's as simple as it gets, Like,
Yeah.
let's make it complicated. But before we do, where does that come from? Like, could you just offer a little bit of history here, like where that nativity,
Um,
like how did
yeah,
we get here?
I think, and here, please do not cite me as an authority on this because I really didn't think about the history of the nativity scene in churches the way that it's done in a lot of Western churches. But I think it actually goes back to the days of St. Francis of Assisi in the early
Okay.
13th century, that he, in fact, brought animals into the church, which we will not do. Footnote: in the Orthodox Church, our worship is rational worship. It's for humans. It's for rational creatures, which are humans. Irrational animals really don't have a part in our worship, so we do not let them into the church. But Francis apparently set up something like a manger scene at Christmas one year with live animals in there, and I guess it sort of took off and became somewhat of a regular feature there. For someone who is in a tradition that is so heavily invested in imagery of all kinds, I always find it just a little strange that, my Protestant brethren who accuse me of continuous idolatry because we have icons in our church, very, very happily put out images of baby Jesus and Mary and Joseph, and not only that, but camels and donkeys and pagan wise men and all in front of their churches, and even act them out in real life. There's a couple of churches around me where these, God bless them, these poor church volunteers freezing themselves in sub-zero, Michigan winters to put on a fine nativity scene for people to drive by in the warmth of their cars. I think they've earned a high place in heaven for that. But it just seems odd that somehow this is the one image that seems to be okay in the public.
Interesting.
But at any rate, I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
The long history of it. It just goes back. It goes back to that, and I think it
You
points.
think that was just a more relatable, like it was just a more warming image to say, like, look at this home birth with animals around. It's organic and GMO free. Like, is that really just what you think people latched onto? Like, how is this?
No,
I'm,
no, people didn't care about GMO stuff a while back,
I
or sort of the
know,
homeliness of it. I think that's a very contemporary thing for deracinated, contemporary people,
of course.
particularly younger people who don't have a strong sense of roots or belonging in place or time or in families. I think it was simply a seasonal thing. And you said earlier, well, why don't we do something like this at Pascha or at Easter? Actually, the Christian tradition did.
Mm,
There were we changed the color of our vestments, and in the temple, we brought out palm branches. We decorate our churches with greenery on Pentecost. We carry palms on Palm Sunday. On the feast of the death of the Mother of God in August 15th, we bring flowers into the church and we bless flowers. We bless grapes at the Feast of Transfiguration. There are things that we do around the year. It's just that with everything else that the Protestant churches threw out when they, threw off the liturgical and trappings of worship and the Christian tradition, they threw those things away as well. And so I think it's just an easy thing because it's a bit sentimental, and it feels good. And, everybody kind of likes that I think, it has an appeal. And so it's one place to start back with the sort of, and it reminds us that it is Christmas time. It isn't something that a lot of churches put out on the front yard and say, look, this is a religious season. There's something Jesus happening now. And, it's a way of witnessing to it. Like many churches will put out, a cross with a swath of purple cloth hanging on it on the front yard of their churches around Good Friday and Easter. Yeah. So, it is somewhat of a witness. And I think
but the image itself that I think most people have in their heads right now, the manger, the animals, the three wise men, the star, the drummer boy, how does that differ from what actually happened, what scripture actually says is happening?
I think for just sort of the average American mangers or typical contemporary manger scene, I think it's simply separated from the scriptural basis for it, the traditional basis for it, and from any deeper understanding about why all of those elements are in fact there. So that is a beautiful segue. You set me up just perfectly, to begin to talk about the Orthodox icon of the Nativity. And I suppose most of your people are listeners, yes. So this is not a visual podcast. This is just an audio podcast, yes. Okay, so I will describe simply the Nativity icon. It has basically 5 or 6 sections in it. So, and again, I'll encourage your people, go to Google's, and say put in Nativity icon, and you'll get it. There's a variety of different images out there, but they almost all have basically the same.
I'll also post it on the Instagram. It'll be up there so you can easily access, since this will be live by the time you see it. Yeah,
but for those who maybe aren't looking, so it's divided into 5 panels. Okay, there's one in the center, which is Jesus in the cave with his mother lying in the manger with the ox and the ass, sort of the
in the
typical
cave.
Yes,
not the
cave.
Farm.
No, it's not a farm. I'll get there. It's a cave. All right. And then so that's right in the middle. Immediately below it is a small tree. We'll talk about the little tree later on too. But the central figure is Christ with his mama in the manger with the 2 animals. Okay, and the light of the star shining down from heaven, piercing into the darkness of the cave. And then there are 4 panels in the 4 corners of the icon. So the upper left shows the wise men who are following the star. So we get the wise men over in one corner. The upper right-hand corner, we see the angels who are out in their fields, guarding their flocks by night, being visited by the angels. Okay.
I think I can actually share.
Okay. Yeah. In the lower left corner, this is actually St. Joseph with an old man dressed in kind of a furry garment. We're going to talk about who that is because it's very surprising. And in the lower right corner, we have 2 midwives washing baby Jesus in a basin of water and with a pitcher and other sorts of things that are
Oh, this is baby Jesus.
Yeah, there's baby Jesus. So he shows up twice in the picture. In the center and then in the lower right. Okay?
I thought that was John the Baptist.
No, that's Christ. And you can tell because always in the icon of Christ he has the 3 little Greek letters that spell ho-on, he who is. So there's always a cross in Christ's halo, and there's always those 3 letters. And ho-on stands for he who is. Okay. So that is, the God of the name for God in the Old Testament, because we know that is Christ. So, but in the whole icon, if you look at the whole icon, baby Jesus in the cave is right in the center of the whole icon. If you measure it out with a ruler and put cross lines and everything, Jesus is right at the very center of it. So we know he's the most important figure there. Okay. Now, there's also another little interesting at the very top of the icon in the center of the top edge is this little half circle thing there with stars. Okay, that's an epiphany or a theophany. That is a stylistic, iconographic way of saying that heaven is breaking into this scene. That somehow heaven is being made manifest on earth in this way. Because you see the little stars of heaven up there. and we see these rays of very unnatural light. So we know that's heavenly light. And so the star is coming down out of heaven to shine into the cave there. All right. So this is a manifestation of God, is what this is telling us in the icon.
Okay.
So, of course, with the birth of the God-man, clearly we have a manifestation of God there. And then in the bottom center, as I said, there is this little tree. And that is the tree of Jesse, which we have in Old Testament prophecy, that from Isaiah chapter 11, verses 1 through 10, there shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And in those days there shall be a root of Jesse who shall stand as a banner to the people, for the Gentiles shall seek him, and his resting place shall be glorious. So the little tree isn't there as decoration, and it's not simply showing that, oh, Jesus is somewhere outside and there are plants around. That's the tree of Jesse, and it's the prophecy about the son of Jesse, the son of David, is the one who will be born as the Messiah of Israel. So that tree is the tree of Jesse, and that's what it's there to remind us of. So this ties the birth of Christ back to all of the prophecies in the Old Testament about Christ coming from the line and lineage of David, which we know that's why he was born in Bethlehem, because that was the city of David, and he went there, as Joseph and Mary went there to take him there to be taxed. Okay?
So it's more symbolic.
It's absolutely
It's to say-
symbolic. Yeah.
Okay.
And if
We shouldn't look at this as a accurate depiction of the scene. It's saying, look at all the things that are playing a role in this very huge, world-altering moment.
Yeah.
These are all the things that we should be considering.
Yes, it's very composite, and there are a lot of things going on at the same time. Exactly,
Right.
because it's forming this comprehensive impression. And so we're going to bring in all of the imagery, all of the Old Testament prophecies, all of these things that are going to come together, and it's going to create this tapestry, this mosaic of all of these images that all go in to show just how important this moment is.
I
Okay?
think that is like a very different way that maybe I and maybe Protestants look at the imagery that you see in the Orthodox Church is like, oh, this is a scene. It's like a photo. Snap, this is what it looked like, But I think that the Orthodox Church, and correct me if I'm wrong, is looking at this as, look at all the things that play a role in this moment. It's not a photo. It's not a still image in time. It's all the things that God is working in, kind of representative of this moment and why it's important. Would that be a correct way?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, to push it, you're absolutely correct in all of that. And so if you know the scriptures and you know the hymns and you know your tradition, you will see all of that reflected in here. So what the icon does is it brings together a lot of scriptural imagery and a lot of scriptural prophecy and all, and brings it all together into one image so that it becomes a very pregnant, sometimes I slay me, a very pregnant image, because it's fecund with meaning. Okay, so it's not just a picture, oh yeah, that's just Christmas. No, when you look at it and you really get into it, it's the layers of meaning keep revealing themselves deeper and deeper and deeper until you see that what it is, it's like the tip of an iceberg. And so when you understand it fully, you see all this depth that's there behind it.
Oh, perfect, because that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, and to carry it one step further, Orthodox icons are not just pictures. The difference between a photograph and an icon is that an icon makes present the event or the person that's depicted in the icon. That's how we understand it. So when we look at the icon of the Nativity of Christ, we are there. It makes that event present to us here and now so that we can participate in it. It's not just a wistful sort of feeling of, oh, well, we're born 2,000 years too late to have participated in the birth of Christ. Alas for us. No. In the icon, the Nativity is made present here and now. And so we can stand there at the cave with the wise men, and we can behold the infant Jesus, and we can worship the newborn child. That's what the icon allows us to do. Because in Christ and this is what, we could have a whole discussion on liturgical time and space, but that's what all of this is here for. is so that we
Okay.
can participate in the saving work of Christ, and not just as a memory of something that happened a long time ago, but that is a present event in reality that we can encounter here and now.
Well, to do that, I think I need to understand what I'm looking at. So let's walk through a couple elements here that
Yeah,
stand
can
out.
we
Starting
start?
off, and I kind of already with
Yeah,
the
let
cave.
me. I sort of have it sketched out here in my notes. If you don't mind, let's start in the middle.
No, please, please. Okay,
Okay.
we can start wherever you want. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll start in the middle. Okay, which is there is a little mountain and there is a cave in it, and it depicts a scene in the wilderness. This is a cave near Bethlehem, where Saint Joseph took his wife because there was no room for them in the inn. There is an ancient document called the Protevangelion of James, which written about the year 125, which explicitly says that they went to a cave. And so that's part of the reason why the nativity icon shows a cave. But there's a second reason as well, because caves, if you have a cave or something that's got a black background like the cave does, the color black represents the fallen world, the unredeemed world, the world without Christ, without God. And so the world without the light of Christ. So when Christ is born in the darkness of the cave, it shows the coming of the light of Christ into the
Whoa.
world. The true light who enlightens every man has come into the world. That's what's being shown here with Jesus in this black cave. And notice too also that the light of the star, the Star of Bethlehem, is right there over Christ. It's not up in heaven. The light comes down and pierces the darkness inside the cave. So we know this heavenly light comes down and fills the darkness of this world with the light of grace. Okay?
Oh boy.
So
This is going to be an
please
intense
remember
episode.
also, because we have to draw this parallel. Where was Christ buried when he died? He was buried in a cave.
Running my own podcast, I'm always moving too fast. I'm finding guests, I'm editing episodes, I'm creating reels, or guesting on other shows. Not to mention, I just live in a world that moves fast. Notifications, trends, endless to-do lists. You know what feels like a blessing in all that? Slowing down. I'd love nothing more than a moment to pause, be present, and choose something timeless. That's exactly what Dwell Label is all about. When I first discovered Dwell Label, it wasn't just about the clothes, it was about a mindset. Thoughtful, intentional fashion that doesn't scream for attention, but instead invites you to slow down. Their pieces are modern takes on classic styles, made to last, not just for the season, but for years. I love that I can throw on a Dwell Label outfit for editing in a coffee shop, Bible studies, or looking professional in an interview. It always feels right. Comfortable, effortless, elevated. And here's the best part. Dwell Label does not just talk about rest. They live it. Their website literally doesn't work on Sundays because they believe in pausing and dwelling on what matters most. So if you're looking for high quality, timeless fashion that aligns with a lifestyle of intention and presence, I can't recommend Dwell Label enough. Shop Dwell Label with the link in the show notes and use my code BIBSPEAK15, BIBSPEAK15 for an exclusive discount at checkout. Take a breath, slow down, and dwell in the good things. Now, back to the show.
So we have a parallel between the burial of Christ and the birth of Christ, and we'll see that there's a lot more parallels between the birth of Christ and his death as we go through this discussion. Okay? So Christ born in a
Oh my
cave, Christ
gosh.
buried in a cave. Okay, so in the
Wait
center
just
of
a
the cave,
moment. Like that, even like like black in an icon represents the fallen world.
Yep.
I, in 2025, would never think that.
yeah. Well, this is because first of all, you're not immersed in the tradition, but after a while, you begin to see it because black is very rarely used in icons.
Oh.
It's used in the Pentecost icon. I know that because in the icon of Pentecost, it shows sort of this arch where the 12 apostles are sitting around, with the little tongues of flame over their heads, showing, the enlightenment of the Holy Spirit on Pentecost. But in the center of it, there is this black space with a guy called Cosmos, the world, holding in his hands this cloth with all of these little scrolls in it, which represents the souls of all of the people in the world who are waiting for the illumination of Christ and for the preaching of the gospel. And so the world is there in darkness at Pentecost waiting for the preaching of the gospel. So there are a few places where black shows up. And so again, There's a symbolism to the color. I mean, if we take, for example, the color, this wasn't part of my description, but I'll talk about it. In almost every icon where the Mother of God is depicted, she is wearing blue and red. Okay?
Oh.
And they're in a particular order. As you notice in this icon, her undergarment is blue, and there's an outer garment which is red. All right? Blue is the color of the sky and represents heaven and symbolically represents divinity. Red is the color of blood, and so it represents humanity. And so the fact that Mary wears red with blue on the inside reminds us that she is a human woman who bore the divine Son of God within herself. And since she bore God in her womb, the blue has to go on the inside and the red of her humanity on the outside.
Interesting.
See? So the colors are there. Yeah. All right, let's go on a little more. So there's baby Jesus in the very center, lying in a manger. Yep. A manger comes from the French, manger, which means to eat. So it's a food trough. Literally, that's what it is. It's a food trough where you put the grain to feed the animals. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. Question, where else is Jesus found as food?
You mean just like as the bread of life?
As in the Eucharist. Exactly. So there is a bit of Eucharistic imagery going on here. Okay? Is the true bread which came down from heaven. You know? So that's meaningful there as well. Okay?
Never connected that.
Yeah. And so we see also here the condescension and the humility of our Lord taking on our humanity. You know, the eternal God born in abject poverty, you know, lying in a cave for his nursery, in a feeding trough for a crib, looking up at an ox and an ass. Okay? We'll come back to the ox and the ass in just a moment. I want to point out what baby Jesus is wrapped in, because it's swaddling cloth. Okay, so if you can see the icon carefully, it's like little strips. It's long strips of cotton or linen, you know, like we have bandages where you wrap a bandage around and around and around.
He's a little mummified.
It's like mummy wrappings. Okay, swaddling is what was used to wrap dead bodies for burial. Okay. What was Jesus wrapped in when he was taken down from the cross and laid in a tomb? Exactly the same kind of thing, swaddling cloths. And
weren't all babies swaddled like this?
I don't know that all of them were, but in the icon of Christ, it clearly was. And I think it mentions that he was wrapped in swaddling cloth. Okay. Maybe they were. I don't know. That's a good question. But the parallel is Jesus, when he was born, was wrapped in swaddling cloths. Jesus, when he died and was laid in his tomb, was wrapped in swaddling cloths. Jesus, born in a cave, wrapped in swaddling. Jesus, buried in a cave, wrapped in swaddling. Do you see the parallels here?
I guess, no, I totally see the parallels. I guess in my head, I'm like, isn't that common? Wasn't everybody being born kind of in a swaddling cloth and buried in a swaddling cloth in a cave? Or is that like not common at all?
I don't know how common it was, but in the case of Christ, it was definitely done. I don't know that everybody could afford to be buried in a cave. We know it belonged to, what was it, Joseph of Arimathea?
I see.
I think. Yeah, or Nicodemus, one who had bought a new cave, you know, for himself. Wealthy people could afford that. And I don't know, swaddling cloth might have been something cheap for poor people. I'm not really sure. But just notice the parallels between his birth and his death. Okay? Then we have the ox and the ass. You know, the ox and ass kept time, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. No, it didn't. It wasn't just because this was, you know, a place where animals were kept. It's basically a stable where he was born. No, Prophet Habakkuk, chapter 3, verse 2. In the midst of two living beings, you will be known. And in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3, the ox knows its owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel does not know, my people does not consider. So the ox and the ass are there in fulfillment of prophecy. And
you got to break that one down. That is so confusing to me. What do you mean?
No, Isaiah says that the ox knows his owner, and the ass knows his master's crib. So there's the ox and the ass there in the scene with baby Jesus, pointing to the fact that this is the Messiah of Israel, and that the animals know who it is. But the people of Israel didn't know who it was. And look, who came to visit him? The wise men, who were not even Jews, you know. And what? The shepherds, because the angels told them to come.
I want to take a minute and say thank you to the recording service that has made this podcast possible, Riverside. When I started my podcast, I had literally no idea what I was doing, and I just wanted a single way to record, edit, and share content without wasting time on different platforms. Then, a friend suggested Riverside to me, and I'll tell you what, it was literally an answer to prayer. With just one login, I can record my interviews with scholars, clip interview moments into Reels for Instagram and TikTok, and post directly onto my RSS feed and Spotify, all without the extra downloads, platforms, all of it. So for the curious and confused people like me, the best part is that the crew at Riverside actually listens to their users when they need help. I wanted an editing preset to save time on creating reel templates, and they listened. They literally implemented a new feature. And since using Riverside, my social clips have reached over 1 million people each month. And I haven't even unlocked all the features yet. Live streaming is going to be next. So if you're considering starting a podcast, or you just need to edit at a pro level for content or interviews, I cannot recommend Riverside enough. If this is helpful for you, I ask that you click the affiliate link I provided in the show notes description. It costs nothing extra to you, and it gives a small kickback to me, which helps the channel stay alive. Thank you so much. Now back to the show.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
The wise men who were smart enough to know they didn't know everything, and the shepherds who, didn't know anything. And even when the wise men went to Herod, he says, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews?" Did any of the theologians knew? The Jewish scribes, the scholars knew. Did any of them show up at the cave in Bethlehem? No. Only foreigners and the ignorant peasants out in the field. It's curious.
Very curious.
So we have that there. And again, there's Mary, his mother, lying on a pallet after her childbirth. Her importance in the birth of Christ is shown because she's like the largest figure in the whole icon, just, physically larger than everybody else. And it's a very curious thing. Notice that she is, in this icon, this isn't universal, but in this icon, she is not looking at Jesus.
Right. She's looking down at Joseph, who looks distressed.
She's looking at Joseph, who's distressed, and we will get to that in a minute, and you'll find out why. Okay? Yeah. So we have her there. Yeah, so she's lying there, fully dressed. And let's see. So there's the star again. So let's stay with the center image. So there's the star coming down out of heaven, and the ray of light shooting straight down into the darkness of the cave. All right?
Yes.
One of our hymns for Christmas calls Jesus the Orient, or the day star from on high. In Numbers chapter 24, verse 17, the pagan prophet Balaam is prophesying about Israel, and he says, "I see him, but not yet. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel." So even from the book of Numbers, there is somehow a star is associated with the Messiah. In Revelation chapter 22, verse 16, Christ says, "I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star." And in 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 19, and so we have the prophetic word confirmed, which you do well to heed, as a light shines in a dark place until the day dawns and the morning star arises in your hearts. So the morning star, the day star, the Orient from on high, this is Christ. And so the star itself, while the biblical account says led the wise men, in fact, perhaps the star is Christ himself.
Wow.
Okay? Because it is not just the star which leads them, but it's Christ who draws all men to himself, like he says in John's Gospel.
I love when the Old Testament points to this. This is so cool.
Oh, it is. And then you see, yet because Christ is on every page of the Old Testament. Every page. And, this is where 2,000 years of Christian tradition can really flesh out what's going on in the New Testament when we know how to read the Old Testament in a way that illumines what's going on in the New. All right? And we remember prophet Isaiah chapter 9, the people who sat in darkness have seen a great light. And even in Luke chapter 1, verse 78 and 79, this is in the Song of Zechariah when John the Baptist is born. "Through the tender mercy of our God, with which the day spring," literally the dawn from on high, has visited us, "to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace." And so all these references to dawn and the morning star and the light and the Orient from on high and all, this all has to do with the star there and the coming of Christ. It's beautiful, isn't it?
So much star imagery. I mean, I totally overlook it. You think about the Protestant version of like the story of Christmas is like, oh, they followed the North Star. And that's really the only role that it plays in
Uh,
our version.
no, it's full of, because you've forgotten the Old Testament references to it. Okay. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it really does add so much color when you tie it in.
nothing in the whole story and nothing in the icon is accidental. It all
Yeah.
points to deeper truth, and in some way, it all points to the coming of Christ. Okay, so we're just fleshing out, like I say, this is all the background of what's behind all of this,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know. And
But
alas,
there's way
sometimes
more.
we only see the surface, alas, and we
Hmm.
don't always penetrate to the depths of it. Okay,
But there's more than. Oh, so we focus on the star,
yeah,
Jesus, the manger, the animals, Mary.
uh-huh.
There's a lot more going on in this image. I
Hmm.
mean, we've got angels, we've got these two guys over here, we've got the wise men, we got more animals, the drummer boy right here, and then another scene, another scene.
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
all
So
right.
oops, sorry.
Let's talk about the angels then, the ones up at the top, because there are two sets.
Okay.
You're right. The one on
Yes.
the right, who are with, those are shepherd boys on the upper right. And in many of the icons, they're like clinging to each other in abject terror, which I always thought was a really, really kind of funny scene, because this angel has suddenly come out of heaven, and
You can totally
they're just
see that "do
here.
not be afraid" exchange
Yeah, you say,
happening.
yeah, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. So it's okay, it's cool.
But who are these guys?
Those are the shepherds out in the field. You see there, they got their sheep with them.
Oh, that say like go, a son's being born, and they're like,
Yeah,
what's going on? And okay,
yeah, we bring you tidings of great joy, for today is born in the city of Bethlehem, the Savior. And the
got
shepherds
it.
say, oh, let's go see this great wonder.
I see it. I see
But
how
there
this
they are
is
tending their
making
flocks.
present because it's like all the
Yeah,
things all at once. Okay,
yes. And then the angels on the left-hand side, those are the
I
angels in
see.
heaven praising God and saying, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men. So, because
Is
you remember
there?
from the same story, and there appeared in heaven a great host of the angels, praising God and saying, so that's who those are. And then we have the
This is me
Magi.
getting.
Forgive me?
Wait, is there like a bunch of symbolism here with the colors of the angels? I know this is getting to the nitty gritty, but it's like, is Gabriel green and Michael blue?
Quite possibly, but I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who are the
Maybe
Magi?
a
This would be
degree
the
of
Magi?
granularity, which we might not have time for in what we've got. But there we go. So
Okay.
here on the left side, in the upper left corner, are the three wise men, and in this icon, they're
Okay.
on horses,
Hmm.
and what? A couple of them are pointing. Look, there's the star. You know, Sometimes they're riding, sometimes they're walking, sometimes they stand in front of the cave, and they usually carry their gifts. I think in this icon they're like too far away really to see the gifts, but they were regarded as kings. And this is from the Christian interpretation of Psalm 72, verses 10 through 15, where it says, the kings of Tarshish and of the isles shall bring presents, the king of Sheba and Saba shall offer gifts, and to him shall be given the gold of Sheba. And then again in Isaiah 49:7 and Isaiah 66, verse 6, all they from Sheba shall come, they shall bring gold and incense. And the gifts which the Magi bring, which is commemorated in song and is largely correct, they're significant. And they all refer to the incarnation of Christ, as of God in his human form. Because God is a gift appropriate to a king. Incense, however, is appropriate to worshiping God. And myrrh was used for burial. Okay, so again, a reference to the death of Christ, even at his
Yeah.
birth. Okay,
Whoa, didn't know that.
you didn't know that?
Okay,
Yeah,
so back it up. You said gold was for a king,
yep,
incense was for God, and myrrh was for a burial.
yeah. So is Christ king? Of course he is.
It's like
Is
the
he also
Trinity right
God?
there.
Of course he is. And was he born in order to suffer and die for us? Yeah, actually he was. So
What the
even the
heck?
myrrh there is a prophecy about the death of Christ. So we have caves at the beginning and the end. We have swaddling cloths at the beginning and the end. And we have myrrh at his birth and at his death as well. Ain't that swell?
That's insane.
Yeah, you see the imagery, it begins to fill out. And you see the delight in this, and I get really excited about it because I just love this stuff. But this is what makes the Christian tradition so much fun. You begin to draw these lines, you begin to see the similarities, you begin to see the pattern that repeats over and over again. C.S. Lewis said God has a certain family style, and you begin to see the way God works in the same way through prophecy in the Old Testament and how it gets fulfilled in the New. And it's just delightful. And you know, how can we
really
not
is.
believe when we see how seamlessly all of salvation history is knit together?
I was raised Orthodox. How many times have I seen this icon not knowing what I was looking at? Like, this conversation just adds so much depth to the faith itself. Like, this Orthodox faith is already so beautiful aesthetically. I mean, this is a beautiful image,
Mm-hmm.
but understanding these little details until they're explained to me, I mean, what a great God that we serve. What an amazing religion to be a part of. Like, this faith
Yes.
is so colorful and detailed, and the interwoven Old Testament fulfillment in the New Testament is so beautiful.
Yes. I just get giddy
Yeah.
with delight over it, which is why I'm so
Okay.
glad you asked me to do this. All right, let's go on a little more. It's worth
Okay.
comparing the magi on the left side and the shepherds who are on the right side, because the
Okay.
shepherds, of course, were Jews, and the magi were Gentiles. The
Oh.
shepherds were simple men who received the revelation of Christ's birth directly from the angels, but the magi were wise men who were led to our Lord to more perfect wisdom than what they already had, but through much study and through an arduous journey. Okay? As the Troparion, or one of the songs for our feast said, those who worship the stars were by a star taught to adore thee, the Son of Righteousness. And so the Magi, who were star worshippers in Persia, found the true star and were led to the true wisdom of Christ. Even all of their worldly wisdom and their scientific knowledge, which appropriate to their age, had led them only so far. And then Christ, the true light, the true star himself, comes and leads them to the fullness of wisdom. And they come and they worship.
And when you
Christ.
say they worship meant like the star, you're saying like a paganistic, polytheistic type of worship, and then they found the true God of all the gods they were worshiping? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. See there? So we
I
can
see
contrast.
it.
We can contrast. We've got here Jewish. We've got Jews here in the shepherds. We have Gentiles in the wise men. We have ignorant, uneducated people. We have extremely educated people. So we have this interesting contrast here going on. So there's this little tension there that's being played out. All right, let's go to the bottom of the icon. So
That context really helps.
We can wrap.
What about this guy? Who is this guy?
The guy with the trumpet on the right-hand side will remain largely a mystery to you. I could go into it, but he actually is there. And if you remember, it will take too long to explain, but the 25 words or less is, you remember when Moses in the book of Exodus went up the mountain to receive the tablets of the law, and it's at a cloud covered Mount Sinai, and there was this huge trumpet blast that blasted out as he went up the mountain. It actually has some, that shepherd with the trumpet has some roots in that. But kind of teasing out the deep meaning of it, it would take us very far afield. So we're going to leave the shepherd boy to play us.
Not the little drummer boy here. No.
He is not the little drummer boy. No. No, he's much more important than that. But we're going to leave him alone, and we'll go down to the two bottom scenes. Let's talk about the midwives on the right. Okay. So here we got a couple of midwives who are washing newborn Jesus and tending to him. Part of the reason they are there is to underscore the reality that God really became flesh, was really born of a woman, because he needs the ministry of midwives.
This was a birth.
Yeah, was actually born there. They also, though, recall the two midwives in the book of Exodus, chapter 1, when you remember Pharaoh said, kill all of the newborn boys in Israel, and the two midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, refused to kill the male children. They said that beautiful line, Israeli or Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They're robust, and they give birth before the midwives can even show up, which I just love the image. But there's a parallel working here, because you see the birth of Moses and the birth of Christ have some parallels here. We remember when Moses was born, he was the great prophet of the Old Covenant. Pharaoh tried to kill him. And when Christ, the great prophet of the New Covenant, is born, Herod sets out to kill him. All right? And so
I
there is actually
totally
a moral,
overlooked that.
so there's that biblical parallel again working. Okay.
Oh,
And there's a moral we can draw from this, because whenever something great or some great conversion event, or whenever we have some great idea or some new resolution, or we're about to make a major step in life, there is always, comes up at the same time, some strong opposition that tries to kill it. You know,
oh my gosh.
you see, it happens, doesn't it? Yeah, that's what, you know, we're about to make New Year's resolutions, you know, whether, you know, that's noble, you want to turn your life around, or you find you're ready to give yourself to Christ more fully. There's always opposition. Even if you just want six-pack abs, there's always opposition, you know.
Wait, okay, hold on. Say that again. You said whenever something great is about to happen, there's great opposition. You said
There
it much
usually is
better than I.
opposition shows up too, yeah.
Okay.
Do you
Whoa.
ever
I
try to
feel like
get
there's
more
some.
devout in your prayer life, or you know, give up
I
some
guess I
bad
just chalked
habit
it
or
up to like
something?
spiritual attacks.
Yeah, the spiritual attack, it almost always comes. Same thing here. That's what happened when Christ was born. It's what happened when Moses was born. Anytime something great is about to happen, there's usually resistance. Yeah. There's another reason why the midwives are in the nativity icon. Because, like I say, a lot of the elements in the nativity scene are present also at the death of Christ and his burial. So I sent you also an icon of the resurrection, which is actually the visitation of the myrrh-bearing women to the empty tomb of Christ. Okay? So in both icons there are caves, because I told you Jesus is born in a cave, Jesus is buried in a cave. Both both have angels in the scene, because you see in the nativity icon, of course, there's the angels in heaven. Here there is the angel who rolled back the rock and sat on the door of the tomb, you know, and says to the myrrh-bearing women, "Why seek ye the living among the dead?" You know.
Why
Um,
seek he the
and
living
both have
among the dead?
swaddling clothes. And you see there in that icon, you see there's the empty swaddling clothes that wrap the body of Christ.
Oh, they're empty. Got it. Yep.
Okay. And so here are the myrrh-bearing women, often because they come to anoint the body of Jesus, you know, early on the first day of the week. All right. They parallel the midwives that were at the birth of Christ. So there are these women tending Jesus at his birth, and there are women tending Jesus at his death. And the Proto-Evangelion of James, again, that early Christian document, said that one of the midwives was Salome, who shows up later in the Gospels as one of the women who attends Jesus. And she
No.
is one of those three myrrh-bearing women in the icon.
No.
Yeah.
What?
So Salome is present at the birth of Christ, and she's present at his death. The only other one, of course, is his mother. But that's
Oh
why
my
those
gosh.
midwives are there, because they remind us of the same issues that happened when Moses was born, and it also ties these women to the death of Christ again. So the birth and the death of Christ are joined together in yet another visual element in this icon.
Oh my gosh.
Ain't that fun? This is just so much fun. I love doing this.
This is so much fun.
Now, let's go to
Wow.
the last
I
key
thought you were
point.
gonna. I just thought you were gonna take it into the direction of like this. Like we needed midwives there because this wasn't like a clean, squeaky clean birth because he's God and Mary's super special, and so there was like barely any blood, and he just popped right out. And but this was a messy birth. Like how much towel and hot water and like cleanliness was needed
You
because
need
this
all
was
of
a
that.
human birth.
Yeah, it was a natural human birth, so you needed all of that. Yeah.
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 Okay, let's
Wow. That's
wrap up
insane.
with the lower left corner. So over
Okay.
here in the lower left corner, we've got Joseph, husband of Mary. Okay?
Yeah. He's looking
And you're right,
queasy
he's
from the
shown
birth.
with a worried or a sad look on his face. That's because that old man wrapped in fur that's there in front of him, that is the devil, disguised as an old man or
Not
a
what I would have
shepherd.
thought. How do
And
we know that?
what is the devil doing? She's tempting
I
Joseph.
mean, mm,
You really believe she was conceived by the Holy Spirit? You know, you were out working. You sure someone didn't slip into the house and, you know, she didn't have a little affair going on the side? That's what the devil's saying to Joseph. Okay? And here is why, because he's struggling with this. And that's why I love these icons where Mary is looking not at baby Jesus, but she is looking at her husband, because she knows what he's going through.
She
All
does.
right.
She knows that that's
And
going through his head.
yeah, and this I find especially, and I point this out to men all the time since I do a lot of men's work. Joseph is not in the center of the icon. He's not in the center of the scene, in the warmth and the security of the cave. He is doing what men have always done throughout human history. He is on the perimeter, he's on the frontier, he's on the edges, guarding the women and the children that are inside. Joseph is there encountering the devil. Joseph is being tempted. He's on the front lines. He's taking it on the chin for the sake of his wife and that baby. He is protecting them. And this is what men traditionally do. Okay? This is an extraordinarily masculine image of what a man is doing. So this is not the sweet, and forgive me, it always seems saccharine to me, holy family that we sometimes find in Catholic theology and devotion. Okay, we have no problem with Joseph as the foster father of Jesus. That's fine. That's the common Christian tradition. But he was much older than she was. We know that. And the tradition says he had other children. He was a widower. He had other children from his first marriage, who are the brothers and sisters of Christ, or the brothers of Christ mentioned in the gospel. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
She remained virgin.
Actually.
Yeah, he never touched her. Joseph never touched her.
No, I just didn't know he had prior children.
Yeah, that's who the brothers of Christ are that are mentioned in the gospel. They are Joseph's children.
So, yeah, I guess I just assumed that was from like after Jesus they had more children.
Nope, he's not going to touch her.
Ever.
Nope. Ever. She
How did I miss
virgin.
that?
If you go back, it's very hard to see in the icon unless you really blow it up. But every icon of the Virgin Mary, where she's depicted in iconography, she has 3 stars on her, 1 star on her forehead and 1 star on each of her shoulders. And that is to remind us that she was a virgin before, during, and after her childbearing.
How did I not know this? What?
Because the Protestants don't like our devotion to the Mother of God. And they, she bore Jesus, but after that, she's just a common woman. And yeah, Joseph screwed her whenever. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She is perpetually a virgin. Always has been, always was. And it's just Protestant resistance to Catholic and Orthodox devotion to the Mother of God that's caused them to say these things. No, he never touched her.
Well, a little off topic, but that was insane. Had no idea about that.
Yeah. So what you see here, sort of to wrap it up a little bit, we have all these coincidences. First, the birth and the death of Jesus, we see all these parallels in these images. We have Gentiles and Jews. We have wise and ignorant. We have heaven, in the little half circle above, and we have earth below. We have angels and the devil. We have rational creatures in the humans who are there. We have irrational creatures in the ox and the ass. We have light and darkness. We have life and death. All of these things are all held together with Christ at the center of it. And so I'll just wrap up my my part of this with one of the hymns that the Orthodox sing on Christmas, which is these lines: "What shall we offer you, O Christ, who for our sakes has appeared on earth as man? Every creature made by you offers you thanks. The angels a hymn, the heavens a star, the magi gifts, the shepherds their wonder, the earth offers a cave, and the wilderness a manger. And we offer you a Virgin Mother. O pre-eternal God, have mercy on us." And that's it. Now, ain't that fun?
I just ate a whole meal. That's how I feel.
Yeah. No, but that's it. That's what's all contained there. So the animals, like I say, it's fine. You want animals at the at your manger scene, fine. Just know they're there fulfilling prophecy. Isaiah prophesied that those animals would be there, and that they would recognize their master. The star, the Orient from on high, the prophecy of Balaam. I see him, a star shall rise out of Jacob. All of those elements were all prophesied. They're all meaningful, and they are literally pregnant with meaning. And when we kind of understand the history of when we see how the scriptures all point to it, it makes it that much richer.
Oh my gosh. I don't even think we need to
Head
say anything
blown.
else.
I know.
Yeah. So follow Father Michael on Instagram. Book with him if you're a man and you want to grow up and you just need some like
Yes.
amazing mentorship. And then go to his church. And if you can't go to his church in Michigan, go to your local Orthodox church. This is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Much obliged. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And you ask good questions, and you give me the opportunity to talk about things that I get really passionate about. So thank you for that.
Well, let's find another thing to bring you back on. Thank you so much, Father.
Here I
Merry
am.
Christmas.
Use me. What's the good of having friends if you can't use them, right?
I'll have everything regarding Father Michael in the show notes if you want to easily find him. But God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. And